What's good, everyone? Welcome back to the channel, and today we're here for my round 15 AFL tips and predictions. Now, I've got no idea when this video is going to be posted because the internet today has been abysmal. I don't know what the hell's going on, but it's taken like 20 minutes to load pages, so who knows how long it's going to take to actually upload. But we've finally got the actual ESPN Footy Tips site loaded, so hopefully it'll let me go through and actually check how I did in round 14. So it does let me do that, and as you can see right there, I got a total of 5 out of 7, which, yeah, it's all right. I mean, I probably could have done better, but I got a really good tip later on in the video. So I tipped the Bulldogs by 23 points, and they won by 72. I didn't expect them to win by that much, but in all honesty, I'm not surprised. I tipped Adelaide to beat Hawthorn. I went for a bit of a rough upset call. I was there at the game at UTAS. I'll have a video on that later this week. Very disappointed with the result, though. I certainly wanted the Crows to win, but it was a crap game, unfortunately. Now, I got these 3 tips correct. I tipped the Giants. That was a tip that I was really happy about getting right because only like 2% went the Giants. I knew they were going to have a good performance, and they actually beat the Lions. Cats smashed the Bombers. The Dockers just escaped from a possible loss against North. And then I went Melbourne, who, look, they weren't terrible, but then once again, their inaccuracy probably did let them down, as they have been letting them down the last few weeks. And then I went Carlton to beat West Coast in a pretty crap game. So ultimately, yeah, 5 out of 7. We'll take a look at the competition. So looks like the internet's working for this, but as I said before, internet's just been terrible all day. Now let's take a look at the comp, and we have leaders for last round in round 14. People that use the Joker I find a little bit weird. This Zeretz guy decides to just jump on the board and use the Joker, and he's got the best score of the round with a total of 12 and a margin of 21. Unlawful Spoon 65, Mighty Hawks 15, Lachlan Calder and Ibiali with the best scorers of round number 12. But some people actually got a perfect score that didn't use a Joker because there weren't many that used it. Let's be honest. If you are going to be using a Joker, you're not going to be wanting to do it in a bye round. Kadeen, Whisper Kobe, Sleeping Dragon, Taiwan, AFL Legend with a perfect score. We also got Port Kelly, Harry Loves the Heps, Flag Dons, Hobob, Nessa, The Rassic Brothers, Mardo234, Troy Bedell 11, and Dewey Farm Official. So those are all the people that got a perfect score in round 14. And looking at the total scores for the round, we have the same people up in the spotlight. We've got Owen 32, Kathy Foden, Fernando Fazio, Riley Fitz, and Simit Batani. It's the same people every week, but I can certainly see it start shifting around as we get closer towards the end of the year when people start using the Joker a little bit more. Now look at fantasy. It wasn't the best round for me, as you can see, 1929, overall ranking of 22,000. Bolton was terrible, Langford wasn't great. But apart from that, there were a few decent performances, like Ashcroft wasn't great, Clark wasn't, but McCarthy, Max Holmes was awesome, and I'm 118th, so it's just been pretty disappointing last few weeks after the buys. The buys have sort of hurt me with fantasy, and you got Jacob R still leading the comp with a 2nd overall ranking, with Lucas R, Mason R, Lachlan M, and Lucas P all rounding out the top 5. Now look at the big calls. I do have a lot of big call punishments to get done, but yes, on the Monday, I actually ended up getting one, which was watching the Telstra whistling ad for 2 hours straight.
Lovely thing about together. It goes a long way.
Holy shit. Now this is the one from Zay Bennell for this week, so let's see if I have to do that, which is unfortunately recreating that Telstra whistling ad. That's going to be difficult to do. And let's look at some of the big calls that I had to do for the round. With it being a bye round, I only need to get 2 of them correct. I said in the first game that Aaron Naught would kick 4 more goals. He probably could have. He only kicked the 3, so that was quite disappointing. The only one that I did end up getting correct was actually the Cats to win any half by 40 or more points. I almost got North kicking 4 first quarter goals. I almost got both sides winning 2 or more quarters in Port v Melbourne, and really needed to get Curnow 5 goals in the last game. He got subbed out injured before half time, and that really cost me once again. So Curnow's cost me twice weeks in a row. Screw you, Curnow. Once going to get another big call punishment, and that one unfortunately is the one that Zay said, which is to recreate the Telstra whistling ad in public. You guys are wondering when I'm going to get the bleach buzz. I don't know now. I thought it was going to be this week, but it's going to have to be delayed because I have to get it done with an actual hairdresser. That'll be done on stream. It's not a very easy task to organize, but once again, it will get done, so you don't have to constantly keep asking me. Yeah, so like every week, put your punishments down below, and the one the most likes, that's most appropriate and can actually get done, will be in the works for the next few weeks before the end of October. I think that's when the deadline is for my tipping punishments. Voting's open for round 14 as well, so like I do talk about every week, we are going to do a big awards show at the end of the season. But like the Brownlow, we get the fans involved, so make sure to vote down below. Link is in the description and the pinned comment for the forms. 3 to 1 votes, that'll be good fun. And also get that subscribe button ticking because we have a lot of content coming up throughout the year. Let's try and get to 54k by the end of the week. So let's start start off on Thursday night. We do have Freo taking on Essendon. We'll be streaming this game and hopefully be getting a guest on, whether it's an Essendon supporter guest, whether it's a Fremantle supporter guest. I wouldn't be giving the Bombers much of a chance in this game, especially after last week's performance. I thought they semi-competed, but once again, they really need to fix their slow start. They've had an atrocious start to games this season, once again coughing up 6 goals to 2. And they didn't really win any quarters. It was a bad fall-off in the last quarter especially. You can give them sort of an excuse. Like, they have a really depleted backline at the moment. They've already fielded 10 debutants, and we're only into round 14, round 15 of the season. Obviously, the depleted backline, you know, you had Jeremy Cameron and Shannon Neal running rings around some of their newcomers that they got in the mid-season draft. It was never going to be a pretty day for the Bombers, but their efforts in the last quarter were poor. I thought they were okay in the third, but once again, it's going to be a very difficult task to come up against Fremantle at Optus, who are currently now in the 8th. They've won their last 4, and they're looking like a proper top 8 side, a side that we all thought were going to be pushing into the top 4 before the season started. I will say this though, when I watched the game with Marnie on the weekend, Saturday night, I thought that North played better for longer and probably deserved the win. But the likes of Sarong and Brayshaw, they stepped up at the critical times. You know, Luke Jackson kicked that winning goal late when North Melbourne had a run on of 4 or 5 goals. But Freo just got those goals, the important goals at the right time, especially finishing off that second quarter. I think they kicked 4 goals in like 4 minutes. I will say this though, if the weather conditions are going to be wet, I think it probably does suit Freo, because the last couple of weeks where there have been wet games Freo have played in, they have won. The Bombers, they're going to need to really fix their slow starts, because if they can't fix their slow starts against Freo, I see no chance of them winning. Freo to win by 46 points, and I'm going to say the Dockers kick 7 or more consecutive goals at any stage of the game. Let's head on to Friday night footy. We've got Geelong take on Brisbane at GMHBA Stadium. Now let's hope this is a fairly good game, because we've seen a few poorer games over the last few weeks on the Thursday and Fridays, but the Cats are looking formidable right now. It's between second and third. Now the Cats have been in some tremendous form as of late. They've now won 5 games in a row, and you've just got so many stars on so many lines of the ground. You could start from the defence, obviously Tom Stewart. Zach Guthrie hasn't missed a game since the premiership of 2022. Smith and Holmes, they're running machines. They've been in some awesome form. Ollie Dempsey in the wing, Shannon Neal and Jeremy Cameron up forward, and Stengel and Dangerfield combining as well. I think they've got the best forward line in the AFL at the moment. So really hard now for Brisbane to really see them having much of a shot at actually winning this game. They haven't beaten the Cats at home since 2003 at GMHBA, but they've come close a few times. And with Brisbane, they're third on the ladder, but I've said this a few times, they haven't been as convincing as I would have assumed a third place side of them to be. I had a feeling like from the start, they were always going to have a tough one against the Giants, and they ended up losing once again, choking it by more than 20 points like they did last year. Jack Payne's injury, that's going to really ruin their backstocks. I believe he's out for the year. They needed Hipwood actually to go down back to help out with the backstocks, and I'm expecting this week, I don't know if that's going to be the same case with Hipwood playing down back, but I expect Neal and Jezza probably to fire if that's the case. The Cats, they're doing that t-shirt thing as well, if people don't already know. They're all going to be wearing white t-shirts, kind of like what they do in American college football, just to really intimidate the opposition, intimidate the other team. And I think it's going to be almost impossible, honestly, for Brisbane to win if they're going to be doing that. It's at the Cattery. They're in some really good form. I think I might almost go to the game just for that reason, to be honest. I think Brisbane, they're a strong side, and they play pretty good against the top sides. Away from home, I can see them putting up a good fight, but the Cats right now, it'd be hard to see them lose another game if they continue their really good form. Smith is on fire, Jez is on fire. We'll go in the Cats, we'll go in by 16, and I reckon both sides are going to combine for 27 or more behinds. Let's head now to Saturday afternoon footy, and the first game's at the MCG between Carlton and North Melbourne. A surprising fixture to see this happen, actually. It's the first time since 2004 where this has happened at the MCG. The Blues are 10th on the ladder right now, but you can't really be that overly impressed with their form or with the way they've been playing this year. They've been getting constantly handed these easy fixtures, an easy run of form. Like, this is now the second time this year where they're consecutively playing against the Eagles and North Melbourne, and off the back of some poor form. The week before they had Essendon. So it's like the AFL saying, hey, look, we want you to still be a chance of finals. We're going to give you these easy tasks. I think they've got a pretty easy fixture to finish off their season. They are playing North. I will say, though, as much as 94% of the tips are going Carlton, I'm going to give North more of a chance than what a lot of other people are probably thinking. I know it is at the MCG, but North can play okay at the G. They did end up beating Richmond, and it was a day game. I feel like they've been sort of competitive against the last few games I've played at the G. They were very competitive last week against Freo. They probably should have beat Freo. I kind of felt bad for them at the end because I thought they played better for longer. They had a good start, which is something North Melbourne haven't really been able to do as of late. I just thought ultimately a few laps of concentration concentration in critical moments when Freo kicked 4 or 5 in a row late, I think, in that second quarter. And there were also times where they just weren't able to stand up late. But I thought it was admirable that they didn't give up. The old North Melbourne would have lost that game by more than 5 goals. So I think we're seeing some improvements, but we want to see the wins now. Park was good in the last quarter. So was Larkey. LDU was solid. The Blues, well, they had a dominant first quarter against West Coast. I thought that was going to be a 100-point win, but unfortunately, they just slipped up and didn't really care in the next 3 quarters. They kind of just slowed the game down and acted as if they already won. Obviously, they were always going to win against West Coast, but they played down to West Coast level, and it was quite disappointing. A flat finish, one that I wouldn't be celebrating too much. You just move on with that. You've got North here where, let's be honest with you, the Blues have won their last 5 against North, and they should be winning. However, Curnow was subbed out last week. He might not be playing this week. I'm not too sure the extent of his injury. I don't know about Mackay. They'll have a bit of a flat forward line, and I think North Melbourne could maybe get on top if they're a little bit quicker in the middle, which I think they have been able to do in previous games, especially with their young midfield. I personally reckon North Melbourne can upset here at the MCG. Just put a line through Carlton's season. That would be quite satisfying. I'll be going to the second half of this game, and I got a good upset tip last week. I reckon 6% of North Melbourne tipsters. I reckon there should be a few more because I just thought after quarter time the Blues were super flat, and I think North can get up if they play like that against Freo. So I'm going to go the North upset in this one, and I reckon they win by 9 points with my big call that Nick Larkey kicks 4 or more goals. Next game we have at the Adelaide Oval for the twilight fixture. Poor take on Sydney. Now this possibly could go either way, I feel, with the potential that Sydney can provide at their very best. But overall this season, both sides have certainly been underperforming after playing in a prelim last year. But I'll give Port Adelaide credit after the bye. You know, that was in terrible form heading into the bye. They've actually started to maybe turn their form around. Good win against the Giants away, and also a very good win against Melbourne. They look like a top 8 quality side now. Mitch Georgiades kicked the 7 goals. He had his best performance, and they actually look like they knew how to score. Their midfielders had some good games, especially Horn Francis. I thought he was one of their best. Jace Burgon was good as well, and I thought Port Adelaide actually put out a 4-quarter performance for the most part, and you know, pretty solid against the Melbourne side, who weren't too bad. It was a good game, an underrated game. Sydney are coming off the bye. They lost to, obviously, Adelaide by 90-odd points. They responded with a win against Richmond, but I still don't know about Sydney if they're going to find a bit more form or if they're going to stay that average side this year, because their best is still pretty good. I think Errol Gordon's coming back, if not this week, the week after, so that could give him a bit of an edge in the midfield. However, I think if Port Adelaide play like they did last week, there's no way I can't see them losing. I just don't think Sydney right now this season are going to have what it takes. And another stat that people probably don't realise is that the Swans haven't beaten the Power at the Adelaide Oval since 2015. It's only ever happened like twice. Port Adelaide I wouldn't say they're back. I still think they're a pretty average side, but maybe they can turn some form around. They've got some winnable games coming up. Maybe there's still a chance of the 8. And if they are, they're going to need to beat Sydney here. And I'm going to tip them by 21 points. I'm going to say that they lead at every break as my big call. Final game of the round on the Saturday, we have Collingwood and St Kilda at Marvel Stadium. And on paper, you're looking at every tipster in the country, and they're all going to be going for the Pies here. And that's probably fair enough. However, it could be a banana peel game for the Pies. They're not the most dominant side at Marvel. I remember the last few games they played there against North. They found it hard until they found a way to win. And I think the fact that they've only played the one game until this one in 21 days, maybe they're not fully 100% heading into this one, but I still think they're obviously one of the best sides in the comp. They're sitting first on the ladder at 11-2, and they haven't lost since that Geelong game. So I think they're going to be really hard to stop here against St Kilda. Before the bye, the Pies beat the D's in a narrowly escaping win, so that gives them some good form heading into the bye. Whereas the Saints, I believe we've lost 6 of our last 8 games since the Port Adelaide game, and I'm really nervous after the disaster that we had against the Western Bulldogs. I think Collingwood are better than the Dogs, and I think this could be a whole lot worse, to be honest with you. We were just so bad. We looked second-paced. We learnt nothing after the last time the Saints played the Bulldogs, and it was a 4-quarter demolition. We really just didn't stand any chance. The Saints need to start well to try and deafen out the Collingwood chance and the Collingwood crowd, because otherwise, you know, it's going to be a pretty poor game and a hard one to sit through. They'll need to pull a miracle St Kilda and get back to their basics and maybe play like against Geelong. And then maybe after the bye, hoping the Pies aren't 100% or something like that. But you've got to be realistic with a tip here. And I love to tip the Saints in an upset. However, I think I could be a chance of getting 7 here if North Melbourne wins. So I'm going to go the Pies here. I reckon they'll win probably pretty comfortably, unfortunately. Could be a closer game. Potentially could be a bigger margin. I'll go 36 points to the Pies. And I feel like they'll be inaccurate as well. So it'll make it look worse for us. I'm going to go the Pies record 15 more behinds. Next game we have at NG Stadium between GWS and Gold Coast. It's one of the most important expansion cups we've seen ever, to be honest, because this is a battle for both of these sides to stay in the 8. The loser will most likely be at the 8 at the end of the round, and with Gold Coast being in the 8 all year, they've been in a bit of shitty form as of late, couple of losses in a row, and I'm afraid they might start slipping out of the 8 here if they can't get the big wins away from home against big sides like the Giants. So this one's certainly more of a critical one for the Suns, I'd have to say, because the Giants, I still think they'll be alright, although they need to fix up their consistency because they're still one of the more confusing sides in the competition. Somehow, once again, they're able to beat the best sides in the comp away from home, but when they're at home, they play like crap against the average sides. It's really, really strange, but we've got to give credit for GWS' performance because they're down by as much as 21, I believe, against the Lions, but they found a way to really get on top through Cadman and Hogan, and the Giants did it without Toby Green as well. They are going to be without Sam Taylor, though, for the next 5 weeks from a broken toe, so that'd give the Suns a bit of an advantage, but their scoring ability they've lost a little bit in the last few weeks. The Suns, they're going to be coming off a bye here, away from home. The issue is for the Suns, why I'm not really confident with this game, is because their form against the Giants has been really, really bad. They've never beaten the Giants away at NG Stadium, and I think they've only won 1 in their last 14 or something like that. So I could go the Suns here, but I think even though this is at home, and I know it's weird because the Giants have been worse at home than away this year, I still think they'll beat the Suns in hopefully a good game of footy, but I'm going to have the Giants by 20 points. I reckon that the big call will be that both sides combine for less than 140 points. Last game of the round should be interesting because we've got the Bulldogs in Richmond, and I'm fearing the worst for Richmond. I'm sorry, but I am fearing the absolute worst. The Dogs are looking like a formidable side right now. They're still 9th on the ladder, but they are the team to beat up on the poor opposition. We saw what they did last week against the Saints, and now they almost have a full list back. Sam Darcy's return is going to make them a 3 or 4 goal better side, and he had a huge day out against the Saints. Kicked the 3 goals, had more shots, set up some goals. He was massive. And yeah, they smashed the Saints from the word go, really. And the thing is, right, the Saints were able to beat Richmond by 80 points. So if the Dogs can beat the Saints by 72, how much can the Dogs win by if the Dogs are at their best? We know Richmond can play a competitive brand, but it doesn't come often enough. And normally they're not the best side at Marvel. If we take away their last game against the Suns, I could really see this be a 100-plus point win towards the Dogs because we haven't seen a 100-point win for any side this year, but this is the best bet for it to happen. They'll pour the Tigers before the bye against the Swans. They kicked the 1 goal after quarter time, which was surprising because they put in a really good show against the Giants. They're just an inconsistent young side, and the Dogs could really feast on Richmond here. Darcy could kick 6 or 7, and I'm expecting them to struggle again, Richmond, in this one, and I think the Dogs win by a lot. I'm going to say the Dogs win by 98 points, and I'm going to say they'll kick 24 or more goals throughout the game. So overall, I don't really think this is going to be the best round of footy, because when you're looking on paper, most of these games seem pretty straightforward in terms of tipping. A lot of the home teams are expected to win quite comfortably with the odds and the tips as percentages, but I've gone the Dockers, the Cats, North in my upset, Port Adelaide, Collingwood, GWS, and obviously the Western Bulldogs. Drop your tips down below and your punishments for the big calls. I will be doing the Perth stream overnight next week, but I'm not sure anymore now with the Bleach Buzz. I'm hoping still, probably won't be this week anymore, but hopefully we can get it done before the Perth stream because I just want to get these all done with. Obviously they're going to be done, but get them done quicker before people continuously ask. But anyways, hopefully you enjoy. Again, apologies for the later upload. The Wi-Fi's been terrible today. I'm not too sure why. Blame Optus for fuck's sake. Maybe after what I did last time, I've got to switch over to this one.